So as far as cryptos go for alt season and which kind of coins can pop off, there are a couple of categories that I think are really interesting. But, one of the first things that we really understand now on this YouTube channel is that, we're probably hopefully going to see some really good alt season, kind of gains this year, right? Whether that's going to happen now or a little bit later is obviously up for debate, but they are probably going to perform quite well. At least I think so. And, then it becomes like, which category do you want to look at, right? There's so many different categories. You've obviously got, Bitcoin, Ethereum, which you can build tokens on, XRP connecting to the bank systems, Binance, obviously, Solana, filling similar functions to Ethereum. And, it kind of begs the question, which of these categories could see some of the bigger gains? And, there's a really handy section up here. If we head over to categories, we can actually see all of the categories in crypto. And one of the categories I think are very interesting are going to be real-world asset protocols, simply because they're bridging, the world into crypto. And there are big players in this space right now, but the largest market cap here is only $13 billion. So, yeah, they're big, but they're not big compared to some of the bigger kind of coins that exist in crypto, right? If you look at even just the top 10, number 10 here is $29 billion, right? So Stellar down here in number 12 position, it can double, right? And it still wouldn't even be in the top 10, which means that there's a lot of space to grow for this kind of, category in crypto. And I think all of that makes this really interesting because if we're going to continue to see a lot of money flowing into crypto throughout this market cycle, it's probably also going to be interested in bridging the gap between the real world and crypto. And if that's something that you think sounds interesting, there's one particular coin here that is definitely worth checking out. And it is going to be all the way down here. It hasn't actually picked up too much yet. And it's called 𝗡𝗡𝐶hain. 𝗡𝗡𝐶hain is going to be a platform that's built to bridge that gap, as we've already discussed. But there's some interesting pumpermentals here that make this interesting, which I want to kind of show you. But the first thing I want to do is actually just take a look at the chart. And if we go ahead and take a look at the chart, they're on Binance, they're on Bybit, they're on all the platforms that you're kind of used to. They've seen quite a big pump right here, over the last days. If we measure this, this is going to be a 230% pump within 5 days. And it's even more interesting because the team is buying back tokens very soon. So, there's going to be even more liquidity kind of freezing up here. But, if you look at how this has gone, it's erratic price action. It was a major pump up followed by a pretty sharp rejection. But it instantly got all of those gains back up, and it's kind of just trading in what could be the beginning of, some sort of a kind of bull flag, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to draw this, and I don't want to try and draw it yet because, we haven't really seen this chart develop too much yet. But, this is a chart that has clearly woken up. It's a chart that's been around for a while. If you take a look at this from all time, this coin has been around since 2021. Okay, so we're not talking about a coin that's seeing its first market cycle. And if we actually just kind of look at how things have gone for this coin, it's been a big journey of decline throughout the bear market, which is really, really good for investors now, because that means that it's kind of shown us where it can get to as far as market cap. Its peak market cap was up here at 350 million. And right now it's sitting at 67 million. So, pretty far off from where it's been. And the reason that I think this is interesting is some of the marketing kind of features that they've got going for themselves right now. And I should mention that we are working with them on this YouTube video. They did reach out to kind of make a video with us. But what I think is really interesting about them is, just the backing they've got, right? I want to show you their Twitter page right here. And first of all, basically, a lot of the big names that, certainly that I follow, but many of you guys will probably follow them as well, also follow these guys. But I think one that's really interesting is the so-called ex-super official CEO. You may have heard of this guy, Mr. Beast. Obviously, quite famous and quite a lot of power behind him. I don't know exactly what his connection is to this project, but I don't think it's a coincidence that he follows him, because all the way down here we also have big man Gary, who many of you guys have probably heard of as well. Also, super famous and running lots of stuff in all sorts of kind of finance spaces. So, With the backing of these guys, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they're like super involved, like to what extent they're involved, but it certainly seems like there's something here. This does look particularly interesting. So you guys can follow them on Twitter and obviously check out their website. You can get a lot more information about exactly what they do. We've already kind of very briefly looked through their website. I'll show you that again in a second. But this is not the stuff that's interesting. To me, the stuff that's interesting is ranking this coin compared to others in its niche, right? This is one of the things that we can do to kind of understand where a coin can go, is look at what some of the other coins that do similar stuff have achieved. And, like I said, this one's been dormant for a while. It's clearly being watched by a lot of people. It's clearly got a community behind it. So that in itself is already interesting. But, I mean, first of all, its ranking in crypto out of every single coin is 479, which in and of itself is actually pretty good, right? I mean, 479 is quite high, but it's tiny. It is absolutely tiny for sure. And if we scroll up and take a look at, some of the figures we're seeing, I mean, these are coins I've never heard of. I mean, many of these I've never heard of, and they're sitting multiples above where Epic is right now. But the biggest one in the space, or one of the bigger ones, I should say, is sitting at a $3.3 billion market cap. And honestly, many of the projects that are similar to Epic on Binance, bear in mind Epic is already listed on Binance, many of those coins are significantly higher than where Epic is right now. It's potentially a 7.5 to 10x gain from here just for Epic to kind of get into the range of a lot of these other coins as far as market cap goes. And I think that makes this really interesting because, as we know, as we've understood very well in crypto so far, a lot of the time when coins are going to pump, they're going to pump because they've got good tech, or they're going to pump because they've got good developers and stuff like that. But a really big part of it, probably 50%, the other half of it is going to be, who's watching it, who's interested in it, who wants to buy it, who respects it, because that is the kind of thing that can help these coins surface a lot more in front of, more people's eyes and so on, right? And if you believe that Epic is going to be one of those based on some of the things I've shown you, because it certainly does look interesting, right? Like, these people, they don't just follow any page, right? Like, they're going to follow for some reason. They're going to have, so many eyeballs on them for something. If you believe that that's a factor that kind of makes Epic interesting, then what makes it a lot more interesting is the potential here for it to kind of move up. Now, like I said, obviously, this isn't going to apply to everybody. Not everybody who watches this video is going to be interested in this kind of thing. And if that's not you, then obviously that's not you. But, if you are the kind of person that's interested in a little bit of kind of speculation, maybe this deserves a place in your portfolio if you're interested in the real world asset stuff. Obviously, you've got to do your own research. You've got to check it all out and see what's going on here. But if you do take a kind of brief look through the website, that it looks like it looks good. They've got a lot of kind of references in media and stuff like that already. And it's something that could potentially take off. I don't know. We'll have to see. As time continues to go on over here. But like I said, all the links are going to be down in the description for you. And if we bring it back to the chart here to kind of understand, where this could be taking Epic, I mean, if this thing ends up kind of bull flagging from here, it's pretty much game over, right? I mean, it can more or less kind of repeat and reproduce the same kind of move again. So that could literally be something that looks a little bit like this, putting Epic where it is now from, $2.20 up to, $4, for example. And as far as market cap goes, that'd still put it, if my math is not correct, that'd still put it firmly below $150 million market cap, which is less than half of where it peaked, back in 2021 as well. So, even with these very conservative things, the thing that's interesting about these coins ultimately is that they can run so hard inside of bull market. Not just Epic, other coins too. They can run so hard inside of bull markets because there's just nobody selling, but there's a lot of excitement, so a lot of people want to buy. And of course, the flip side, does end up coming in with all of these coins. It can certainly happen to Epic as well, where, on the flip side, when things are ready to start selling off, they tank really hard. And we obviously can't rule that out for Epic. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we've already seen Epic do stuff like that in the past, right? But if you're looking for a coin that doesn't do that, then please text me, email me, telegram me, whatever, when you find it, because I sure as hell haven't found that coin yet. And if you find one, if you're smart enough to do so, then I want to know about it. Because the bottom line, ladies and gents, if we're being realistic about this, is that, coins are going to, take really, really big hits. So, if this is something that you're interested in buying, and if it does end up making you some money, perhaps reaching some of the potential of the other coins, which, obviously a lot of these coins are total shit, by the way. You know what I mean? So, I don't know how difficult it should be for Epic to pull this off. If you're one of the people that decides you want to buy it, obviously always be open to taking profits. It's something that we speak about a lot on this YouTube channel already, of course, because I really do believe it's so important to be taking profits regularly in these markets rather than kind of getting greedy and caught up in what's going on in the markets and stuff like that. So taking profits never made a man poor. That's a principle that we stand by with a big smile on this YouTube channel. And so, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed this video. You know what to do. If you have, hit up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. Check out the links in the description for Epic if you are interested in seeing what they're doing and maybe picking up a little bit of what they're putting down. All right, ladies and gents, cheers. I'll see you all in the next one.